You ever wonder what happens when you die? Our guest Anita Moorjani did die, and she came back to Earth and now is sharing with us all of the secrets that she learned about death and about living in a healthier way.
The biggest lesson I learned when I died, when I was in that realm, in that death state, is that the biggest determining factor of our health is our purpose, our passion.
Anita Moorjani is a renowned author and spiritual speaker known for her transformative journey beyond the brink of death. While she was living out in Hong Kong, Anita battled end-stage cancer before experiencing a remarkable near-death experience that completely shifted her perspective on life. She wrote a best-selling book, Dying to Be Me, which actually chronicles her profound journey and miraculous healing. Its popularity established her as the premier ND expert out there. Her teachings have empowered so many people to embody their highest versions of themselves and live vibrant, authentic lives while we're here on Earth. So welcome to the show, Anita. Thank you so much for coming on. You know, I saw your work, oh my God, maybe 3 years ago. And you were one of the only people that was talking about something that was really potent for me in the moment. Up till today, up till recently off air, I told you the story, death and understanding how we are so disconnected from living because we're so scared of death.
Yes.
Now you have a very special experience, and that was your near-death experience. And I know you talk all around the world about this, but how potent is a near-death experience in living life after to the fullest?
Oh my gosh, if I could recommend that everybody experiences dying before they die, everybody's lives would be so different. We live so differently. Our values change. It's the most potent thing I can think of that can actually help people to live their lives more fearlessly, more fully, and with values that really matter to them. It just changes you so completely. And I don't want people to go through the suffering I went through, but anybody that it could experience death before they actually die, like long before they die, it's a huge gift.
What things shift immediately from your perspective that goes, why did I care about that?
So first of all, I lost my fear of living. So losing your fear of death. I lost my fear of dying. That's the first thing. But you then lose your fear of living fully. And that's huge. Because when you live from a place of fearing death, you actually end up fearing life. You live a very limited life because everything you do is determined by, oh gosh, I don't want to die, so I can't shorten my life. And I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get cancer. I'm listening to these messages that say 1 in 3 people are going to get cancer. So everything I was doing was about not only avoiding death, but avoiding getting sick. I was into eating really healthy. And this is the irony. I was constantly ordering all the supplements that were antioxidant, which prevent cancer. Yeah. I was eating organic foods, which I still do that, but I was so careful about what I was eating that eating had lost its pleasure for me. It was no longer pleasurable. It was more of fear, like, oh my God, is this going to contribute to cancer cells? Is this going to be healing? And I used to watch and listen to podcasts all the time about health, about gut health, about cancer, about antioxidants. It was almost like I was obsessed with not getting sick and not dying. And then I got cancer.
How common, I wonder, because I worked in cancer for 3 years. And so many people, I said, I was the healthiest person. I used to run. I used to work out. I had my green vegetable drinks in the morning. I had this dinner. I stayed away from these foods. Why did I get cancer? And I'm looking at them, and at the time I go, I don't know. I don't know why you get cancer. But then if you were eating so healthy and you had this beautiful lifestyle, what was driving that? What was driving the disease process?
So we overlook something that is so important. And I want to say that what you're describing, I was the one having the green juice every morning. Yeah. We used to grow our own organic wheatgrass, and I was having the wheatgrass shots. I hated the wheatgrass. It would make me sick, but I would still have it. And so, you know, the thing is that when we live like that, we actually forget to live. And I'm going to jump ahead on something and tell you the biggest lesson I learned when I died, when I was in that realm, in that death state, the near-death state, is that the biggest determining factor of our health is our soul, is our purpose, our passion. Is my soul following the purpose or the intention that it came here to be and to live? And when I was in that realm and I left my physical body behind, and when you leave your physical body behind, you leave everything behind. You leave your culture, your gender, your race, your religion, and you leave behind your beliefs. You leave everything behind. And what crosses over is really your pure essence, which is your soul. It's your spirit, your consciousness. And it's also that part of you is pure love. And I realized, so here I was on the other side, just pure essence, pure soul, without a body. And I realized that I was so much more powerful than I had ever been led to believe. I was so much more powerful than my physical body. And I realized that this essence, this soul that I am, who I really am, came to this earth to fulfill a purpose. It had an intention. That's why it chose to come here. But when we live from this place of fear, we are not living on purpose. So when we believe that all there is this physical body, and I have to feed my physical body, and I have to take care of my physical body, and we're making our choices out of a place of fear instead of out of a place of love and passion, what we're doing is we're undermining the fact that we are actually a lot more than the physical body. Yeah. So the biggest lesson I learned really was that the state of your soul, your inner self, is actually the biggest determining factor of your health.
I agree. Yeah. This is why my side, my words I talk about is embodiment, authenticity.
Yes.
It's really the goal for me for people in health, and that's how I define health is, are you embodying who you're here to be? And if your soul is coming through in human form, then that's the highest level of health. Thank you for saying that, because it's so beautiful to hear someone who's firsthand has had that realization that is so powerful and purposeful. Then naturally the question would be, not everyone's going to have a near-death experience. How do we have that experience to have that perspective for us to go, this is my purpose? Because so many people are out of purpose. They don't even know where to look for their purpose. They don't even know what they're here to do. And they're suffering so much.
Yes. So I wouldn't recommend people having necessarily a near-death experience the way that I did, because I went through a lot of pain and suffering to do that. But yet, I would recommend that people do a lot of, I'm going to call it inner work, but it's actually inner exploration. So one of the issues with our world, our culture, is that we have too much focus on the outer world. And our focus, our primary focus for all of us and all the businesses and the culture and everything is economics. We're all driven by economics. What I would invite people to do is, instead of being driven by economics, so in other words, what that means is we put money and economics at the top of everything. Every decision we make, every corporation, every institution, it's money above everything else, like our education system. It's more driven by money than education. Our medical system, more driven by money than by health. And this is with everything. So I invite people, even as individuals, is start to think about what your values are. You've been conditioned to put money and economics at the top of your value scale. But when you've experienced death and you come back, you're like, whoa, money isn't the most valuable thing to me anymore. And the thing that I've realized that is the most valuable to me is time. What do I want to spend my time doing? What is the best use of my time here? So that has become my primary thing now. And that's what I invite people to start to do. Because when you ask yourself this question, what do I want to spend my time doing? What really matters to me? That's when you're starting to get deeper into your soul, questions like that. Then for me, like my priorities, what do I want to spend my time doing? My number one priority is to do things, like number one priority is relationships. I love having good relationships with people. I want to be around people that I love. I want to have friends who I love, who understand me. I don't like superficial relationships. I like authentic, real relationships. I'm like that with my friends, with my team who I work with, of course, with my partner, my spouse. So these are the things that are important to me. The other thing that's super important to me is my own well-being. Now, when I say well-being and health, it's not about the green juice. You know, even if I'm having a chocolate ice cream and watching the sunset, that's part of my well-being. So well-being to me means feeling happy and joyful and passionate about life. I also realized that the people who suffer the most in terms of, from the people I speak to, people who suffer the most in terms of, like, say, illnesses and ill health, are the ones that have nothing to look forward to. They're not passionate about life. They don't have enough love in their life. They don't have a calling or a career that they love, or they don't have enough meaning in what they're doing. These are the things that are missing. And those are the kinds of things I'm talking about when we are coming from the soul. Our soul wants deep relationships. It wants to make the best use of your time while it's expressing itself through this physical body in this time and space.
It's sort of our highest responsibility then to listen to our soul. And here's the gift. Like, I don't think we need to learn more than we need to do is listen. Be quiet and actually connect to yourself. Like you said, if we change our perspective and go, okay, like, what would I do if there was no money involved? What actually is the best use of my soul's time? Like, in this human vessel right now. And even if we start asking those questions, the intention starts bringing it to the surface more and more. Exactly. And that's so inspiring because it's right there for us the more we start diving deep in.
Yes, exactly. And here's again, another irony is that I've realized that when we focus less on things, like when I don't focus on my health, but I focus on doing things that I love to do, my health actually gets better. I feel healthier. Yeah. It's like when people are in love, they feel so healthy. So when you're doing things that you love, you actually feel healthy.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing about money. When you're doing things that you love and you're not constantly afraid of the money, you notice that just focus on the things that you really love, get engrossed in them, be the best you can at it, and the money seems to just come.
Isn't that funny?
So yeah, it is really funny how that works.
It's incredible when we change that perspective. But like, how many people, they go on a vacation with their loved ones, they're having the best time with their family, they're not worried about anything. They're making use of their time by reigniting deep bonds with their lover or with their daughter or their son. And all of a sudden they can eat all this food that they couldn't eat at home, right? All of a sudden they could do all these things that they would never do at home. It's lighting them on fire internally. Oh, I feel so good. Maybe I should move to Italy, or maybe I should move to Ecuador. But the truth of the matter is that your just soul is coming to the surface, right?
Exactly, because you're on vacation and you're with people you love. Now, my suggestion to people is we should actually live like that all the time. In other words, we should strive to kind of live or create the life that we love, like, so that we don't need to keep escaping from it.
Yeah.
The life itself should be one where we feel, oh my God, I'm following my passion. I'm doing this with people I love. This is great. You know, and imagine living a life where you look forward to going back to work, where you enjoy being at work.
You know, I'm someone who's deeply committed to my holistic wellness, and the quality of my sleep environment is just as important as diet and exercise. You guys need to know this. Like, sleep is really, 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 really important, but you want a quality bed. I've always been drawn to Birch. They're one of the best companies. They've been one of the best companies for many years. They are organic, sustainable, they're ethically sourced. They've got one of the best beds out there, period. Organic cotton, natural latex, and wool. And unlike a lot of those conventional mattresses, they are full of synthetic foams and fiberglass. Birch mattresses are entirely free of that polyurethane foam that causes harmful off-gassing that you're breathing in through the life of the mattress, by the way. They're never using cheap, dangerous fiberglass as a flame retardant. Instead, Birch harnesses the natural flame resistance of 100% organic wool to keep you safe and sound. I've had mine for 4 years now. Man, time goes by fast, but I generally look forward to going to bed every night. I just got new covers, new blanket in my new house. My Birch has been with me. When I lay down, I'm like, I make these happy sounds because I'm so happy with my Birch mattress. Yeah, I wish I got to record it for you guys next time. But it's helped deepen my sleep, reduce aches and pains. I wake up feeling good. I know it's a quality mattress. I'm not breathing in crap. I mean, come on. And the best part is Birch delivers right to your door for free, making the ordering process seamless. They even offer optional in-home setup and removal of your old mattress. And you get a generous 100-night sleep trial plus a 25-year warranty, so you can rest assured about your investment. If upgrading to a cleaner, greener sleep setup sounds appealing, I cannot recommend Birch highly enough. They're currently running a 4th of July sale, so it's a perfect time to save big. Go to birchliving.com/heal-thyself to get 20% off of your Birch mattress plus 2 free premium pillows. That is birchliving.com/heal-thyself for an incredible deal on organic mattresses that will transform your sleep quality. Have you been struggling with mood swings? If you begin really irritated about the simplest thing, someone's not responding to your email. I know a lot of you get really mad about these things. Your partner leaving the dishes in the sink. Do you feel like your hormones are out of whack? Like you're not sleeping well, craving foods, especially those sugary foods? Your hair, skin, and nails don't look good. Your muscles are sore. They feel different. There's a mineral that's behind a lot of this, and it's magnesium. It's an absolute must to keep your hormones in check. If you feel your life changing, you feel like you're going downhill, you got to start thinking about magnesium. Why? There's 70% of us that are deficient in it. Most of us are not getting enough magnesium from our diets alone. And when you're deficient in this vital mineral, your entire system is out of sync, especially your hormones. And there's hundreds of chemical reactions that magnesium plays a vital role in, from glucose metabolism to balancing your hormones, to brain health, to heart health, muscles. Magnesium Breakthrough is the best of the best, and it's by Biooptimizers. Everyone who uses it loves it. It's one of the most popular magnesiums out there for a reason. Why? They use a unique formula that contains 7 different highly bioavailable forms of magnesium, including magnesium orotate, which is amazing for metabolic and hormonal health. It also helps support your hormonal health by supporting sleep and your digestive processes. If you want to nourish your brain and your body, magnesium, go to biooptimizers.com/DRG. Use the promo code DRG10 to get 10% off of any order. That is BIOPTIMIZERS.com/DRG. Use the code DRG10 for 10% off of any order. So then how do it knock in viewers and listeners? They go, okay, that's great, but right now I need to pay the bills for my apartment or this new down payment on a house, a mortgage, and I'm at this job and it makes good money. What else am I going to do? I don't know what else I would do. I have so much fear. How does someone in that state go, well, no, but like this is my life is set up around my work, around my money, around this security. What do we do? How do we start exploring and expanding ourselves to get more in alignment with sort of what our soul's here to do?
So we can start with baby steps. So I'm going to dive in really deep and you can help me unpack this if this is too much or too deep for something. It's a tool that I use in my workshops when I'm with people in a workshop. And so first of all, the first step, even if you're unhappy right now and you have issues and you're paying the bills and you're at a job you hate, but you can't leave it, and maybe you're dealing with physical issues and all. So the first step is to realizing that you have an amazing, powerful soul. And this soul wants to express itself. And the reason why you're going through the issues you're going through, and I'm speaking from my own experience, I know that the reason why I got cancer and literally was at the brink of death was because I never let my soul express itself. It was repressed. It was repressed and doing all the things it didn't want to do in jobs I hated, where I was bullied and so on. Grew up in a culture as well, which was very repressive. A lot of gender disparity, where as a woman, I was expected to be more silent and was not allowed to work and things like that. So I had a very repressed soul, which couldn't express itself from this body. And eventually that manifested as cancer. So let's say you're in this situation where you are in a job, you don't have to be sick, you're in a job you hate, a life you don't like, and you're like, oh, how can I get out of this? What I would want people to know, and what I tell people in my workshop, is that when your soul doesn't express itself, it depletes your energy. When you are in a state of depleted energy for a prolonged period of time, that's when you may start to develop physical symptoms. And you don't listen to it and you continue to stay in a state of depleted energy, then of course the symptoms get worse and you get sicker. So I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine your energy as a currency. So people who live in a high state of energy, like we're saying on vacation, people in love, people who are in a job they love, you live in a high state of energy for a prolonged period of time, your body really does heal. It actually heals. So this high state of energy means living from your passion. It means allowing your soul to express itself. So now imagine that energy is a currency. And so just imagine that every night, a good night's sleep gives you 12 units of energy, let's just say. Gives you 12 units of energy. You wake up in the morning with 12 units of energy. If you've had bad sleep, maybe you only have 5 or 6 units. Good night's sleep gives you 12 units. Now, how are you going to spend those 12 units? Let's say at the moment you have a job you hate, but you don't have a choice right now. You have to pay the bills. Yep. Ask yourself honestly, how much of my energy is this job taking? And maybe it's taking up 8 of those 12 units for the day. And you're like, oh my God, that only leaves me with 4 units of energy. But here's the thing. When you do something you love, like you're out playing with your pets, or you're in the gym working out and you love working out, or you're with your partner or spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, your energy goes up. So maybe when you're out with your pets, you're adding 4 units of energy. You're out with your partner, you're on a date, you're on the beach, another 4 units of energy. So the thing to do is to start asking yourself, at the end of the day, how many units of energy am I left with? And when you evaluate your life realistically, looking at your life right now, let's say I'm spending 8 units of energy at my work, and then I'm going home to a boring home, all alone, cooking, and have nothing to look forward to except work the next day. And maybe I have neighbors that I don't like. So even being at home depletes my energy. Maybe by the time you go to bed, you've utilized 15 units of energy. And so you're at a -3 because you only had 12. At a -3, the next morning, you might be getting 12 units, but because you're already at a -3, you've only got 9 units of energy. And now imagine doing this every day. Imagine waking up at a negative. So really be honest and ask yourself, if your energy was a currency, how would you spend it? And if you have to go to a job you don't like, start introducing things into your life that increase your energy and just become aware. And that is how we become aware of how to best utilize our time in valuable ways that's going to leave joyful imprints in me.
What a tangible way of doing it, right? It's such an easy way when we think about that in units. And even we can make our own arbitrary number. We go,
exactly.
Okay, out of 10 or out of 20, I feel like a 9 right now.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we start seeing how your job is affecting you. Oh, shoot, I'm quantitatively at this number. What I'm hearing is that we need to be clear about what brings us energy.
Yes.
Very clear. And at minimum, doing 1 every day, maybe 2, hopefully 3.
Yes. And this is an exercise I give people. I say, I want you to journal and I want you to make a list of all the things that are depleting your energy. And I would say, put a number to it. How many units of energy is doing this, depleting, doing this? Now make a list of all the things that add energy to your day and your life and put the units, whether you're doing them or not, just write the list. Like it could be, I don't have time to soak in a tub or have a sauna, but I would love to do that. That would add these units. And so here's what most people notice is that they have way more things on the list that deplete their energy. And even though there are things that add to their energy, until they become aware, we by habit, we push out of our lives the things that are fun, the things that are joyful. We kind of think, yeah, that's a waste of time. I need to get this job done. I need to get this done. What we don't realize is that what we think are a waste of time is actually buying us more life. Mm-hmm. And we have to reverse that thinking. What's buying us more life is actually the more important. And we're thinking, oh, I have to work. I have to go and pay the bills. And that's a waste of time.
And that's the thing that's taken away and depleting our life.
Exactly.
And even from like a medical standpoint, it makes sense. When we're in that state, our nervous system is depleted, exhausted, imbalance, not being able to heal, recover. Our cells are responding. Then we have different chronic diseases that over time come on and on and on. It's so intuitive as it is just explainable as well. And we think about like the overarching term of stress.
Yes.
That's stress. You're just in a consistently depleted state, doing things to deplete you. And your soul is going, my God, how much more are you going to do this to me?
Exactly. 100%. And I wish our medical system and our healthcare workers who they enter this industry with the hope of healing people. But I think the system doesn't operate this way. But I wish our healthcare workers and our medical system would actually take a closer look at this approach. Because here's the other piece that disturbs me. I'm talking about how important it is to expand your energy, particularly for wellness, but for joy, for living generally. But when you go into a hospital, a doctor who takes tests, the worst thing that can happen to a patient is for them to get bad news, because that depletes their energy even further. But they need that energy to heal.
Yeah.
So the best thing that a doctor or healthcare worker can do for a patient, no matter what state they're in, the best thing they can do is to give them the comfort, the assurance, the words that they need to hear to at least uplift their energy and say, hey, listen, I'm going to stick with you. Don't worry, we'll get through this. Or give them something. Don't let a patient walk out feeling worse than when they came in.
Yeah.
That is the least that a doctor needs to do for their patient.
It's our responsibility. And I was shocked at how many doctors I've seen working in oncology who it was very black and white, very sterile, it was just transactional. I go, wait a minute, this person's life just changed. What's happening? Maybe we should have a therapist in the room or someone who can, complement everything so we can all talk. Do you believe that disproportionate, I'm draining my energy versus expanding my life force is really driving diseases as a whole? I do. Not just cancer, just diseases as a whole.
I do, yes. I really 100%. I can't help it. I have certain, you can call them beliefs because not everybody agrees with me, but I feel these things so strongly because I literally died to experience this, and I know what caused it and I know what healed it.
Wow.
So that's why it's like I reverse engineered in my own mind what happened to me, and I can't unknow it. And so when I see it, and when I see what happens to other people, I see somebody get told, you've got pancreatic cancer, you've only got 4 months to live. And I see, boom, within 2 weeks, they're like sick, and they looked fine until they had that test result. There's a different way we can handle this, because I believe people can heal from so many things that they're being told they can't.
You know, I've said it many times, and I've done a lot of podcasts on this. They go, well, what is the thing that you saw with people who survived cancer, the number one thing? And it wasn't that they take this exotic or went to this exotic place in this exotic country. It was the people who completely shifted their whole perspective on who they think they are.
Yes.
Their life changed. Their relationships changed. They decided no more of this, more of this. So essentially, it's exactly what you're taking the same energy, and we're sharing the same idea about this. For me, it sounds really justifying, because that was my hunch of what I saw. But now hearing it from someone who's been through it is really even more powerful for me as a practitioner. It's such a beautiful thing. And that's what it is. It's the people who completely shift who they think they are, their identity.
Yes.
Which brings me to identity. You mentioned when you had your near-death experience, you realize, oh my God, all those things aren't me. That's not real. That's not me. What are we so attached to, identity-wise, that when it's all said and done, unfortunately, doesn't matter as much as we thought, aside from money?
So our, I want to phrase this right, but it is our image, our, how we appear to other people. It could be approval, shame, these things. Like so much of what we do is driven by shame avoidance, disapproval avoidance. It's like we do a lot of things just to win the approval of people around us. Mm-hmm. It starts, of course, as kids. We want to win the approval of our parents. And then as we grow up, it's the approval of our partners, our bosses, and so on.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that we then become a person who is not who we truly are. We've shaped ourselves around winning the approval of the people around us. And we shape ourselves because we don't want to be shamed. We don't want to trip and fall and make mistakes. Yeah. And we don't want to be seen as failures, as losers. And we don't allow our real spirit to shine through and allow it to be who it was meant to be, because we're afraid of being judged. Judgment is another one. So these are all the reasons that really keep us entrapped with acting and pretending to be someone we're not.
And that's something that we all are suffering with, right? It's like our awareness and magnifying glasses outside of us. How am I perceived? Am I going to get more love or ridicule and more shame?
Yes.
And we're just so afraid that we're not even like connected to our soul process, why we're here. And that's, for me, I look and I see a lot of people living like that. I've been guilty of it. And still sometimes I'm like, whoa, okay, what do I want? What do I feel in my body? What's true for me? What about culture? We were talking a little bit off air about culture. You had mentioned you had a mixed culture.
Yes.
And I know that you sort of wanted to lean into that. What is your perspective on culture and the way we're brought up, as far as, I guess, identity or how it can be a consequence of health in many ways?
Oh, yes. Culture plays into it a lot. And even just, I'll dive into the culture, but even just speaking about the image, as you were speaking, I just thought a really easy way to know that you are actually not being who you are is if you imagine buying and owning things that are well out of your budget, out of your reach, and struggling to pay for these things, but you feel you need to in order to be accepted in the social group that you're in. That's a very common one that people do. Mm-hmm. And they feel too ashamed to live within their own means. So, but yet are willing to struggle with having to make payments that are well out of what they can afford. Mm-hmm. But with culture, like I can give you the example of my own culture. And I was born in Singapore, but my parents are Indian, and they moved to Hong Kong when I was 2 years old. And because we were not living in India, and this is the case with many immigrant cultures, they hold on tighter to their cultural beliefs when they live outside of their home country because they don't want to lose the traditions. So my parents, even they were bringing me up in Hong Kong, which is predominantly a Chinese city. However, they had me go to a British school where all the other kids and the teachers were all British. It was a British international school with expatriate children. So I was one of the very, very, very few non-British kids in the school. I was a non-white. I was in a minority. And I wanted to fit in with all these white kids who had very different cultural norms. The British kids had different values than my Indian parents. My Indian parents wanted to bring me up they wanted to groom me for an arranged marriage. And so as I go through my teen years, my British friends, my school friends, are all thinking about their career and their college and what they're going to study and what they're going to do later on, and they're dating. But with me, with my parents, I can't have a career because you're going to have an arranged marriage someday and your husband may not approve. So in the culture that I grew up in, women, like, you don't move out. I couldn't go to college because it would mean moving out of home. You don't move out before you're married. And so your father takes care of you. And then when you get married, your husband takes care of you. And in many cases, you live with your husband's parents as well. And they decide whether you get to study further or work or whatever. You don't get to decide for yourself. So my parents were preparing me for all of that. So I was, and living in Hong Kong, which is predominantly a Chinese culture, I had many Chinese friends and neighbors. So I had British friends, Chinese friends, and my parents had a circle of friends, a community whose kids I would also mix with. So I grew up in a very multicultural society with different belief systems, Christians, Taoists, Buddhists, Hindus, all of it. And that shapes who you are as well. It really shapes you in that you're exposed to all these cultures, but yet, because of my parents' culture, I was very repressed as a woman. But yet, I knew, because I would look at my other friends, I would look at my British friends, my school friends, I knew that I wanted what they have. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to work. I want my freedom to make my own money. I don't want to be dependent on my dad and then a husband. And so I knew of those values. I was exposed to them. I wasn't living in a culture where everybody was like me. And so it was a struggle. It was a struggle.
Yeah, I can imagine. And culture in itself, a lot of us are really ingrained in the culture that we learned from our parents and they from their parents. And when we're dying and we die, how much does all those cultural norms, do they matter? You know, by now you guys know all about Element is my favorite electrolyte product, but let me tell you about their new product that they launched, that is Element Sparkling. I got like 10 in my refrigerator right now. And anytime someone comes over, I have them taste it. Everyone loves it. As someone who's always wanting to stay hydrated and avoid sugary drinks, it's a game changer because I like cold, sparkly beverages, especially in the summer. And Element Sparkling is a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling water that is packed with electrolytes, but without any of the sugar or the caffeine. It's got the same great electrolyte formula that you know and love from Element, but now it's a refreshing, fizzy form. I love it. With each sip, I'm hydrating in a healthy way instead of reaching for drinks that are loaded with sugar and stimulants. It's become my go-to beverage for staying energized throughout the day. And the best part, you can try it for yourself by getting a free Element sample pack when you make any drink mix purchase at drinkelement.com/DRG. That is DRINKLMNT.com/DRG. Try it out. You're going to love it.
So this is where it gets really interesting because in life, I'm dealing with Hinduism as a religion, Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity. All of these religions were exposed. I was exposed to all of them. And I would respect every single religion, depending who I was with. So in my mind, just like I was exposed to all these cultures and different people are different cultures, I just accepted that different people are of different religions and we all coexist. However, I started to realize as I got older that most people of each religion think that their religion is the only true religion.
True.
And that the only way to God or to heaven or nirvana, whatever we want to call it, is through that path, whatever that path is. Whereas, and so I just thought one day when I die, I'll know the truth. When I did cross over, I realized that all the religious teachings are all part of being here. We don't take them there. We don't take religion with us there. There is no religion on the other side because you don't need it. We are pure souls, pure essences, pure love. Religion is like a language that we use here to put words into helping people to understand spirituality and death and beyond. It's a language that that prophets of the past have given us, and every religion has a huge element of truth in it. But where we have gone wrong is in believing that any one religion is the only path. We've used it to divide us, but in actuality, religion was devised to unite us.
What a beautiful take on religion, because I know so many people really lean on their identity and existence around religion. And what I'm hearing is you say it's our grounding for here now. It's a grounding for a relationship to spirit now. But the beauty of it is that when you're in your pure essence of love, of who you are, kind of doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly. You don't need it. It doesn't matter anymore. And over here, when we have our religious communities, it gives you community. It's very hard for anybody who is who does have an identity that is linked to their religion and their culture. It's hard for them to give it up because that is your community. That's who you bond with, and it's your family. It's your friends. They're all part of that community. So it's totally understandable.
It's part of the identity.
It's part of the identity.
And your parents' identity, and it's your connection with your parents, or your connection to your family, or connection to the community, as you say.
Yes.
And we all have that biological imperative that we want to belong. We want to be part of something. So then I guess that begs a question: when we die, is that heaven then? Do we all go to heaven?
We could call it that, and we can call it anything at all. So I sometimes say that heaven is not a place. It's a state of being. It's when you are in that pure spiritual essence state, when you have left all of this behind. So you have no attachments, no identity with you don't identify with any of this. And when you see that clarity that, oh, wow, we're all connected. We're all part of one whole. Everybody has this spiritual essence. And when you see it and you feel it, then you actually feel that you are embodying the state of heaven. That is this, it's a state. And so one of the things that I try and do is to bring that state here and live from that state here. And I believe that it is possible. Sometimes our world makes it difficult, but it is possible.
So then I guess people lean on religion for a moral compass, right?
Yes.
So people who show up in this world and actually have no care for other people's feelings or emotions, and they're hurtful and resentful, or they're cunning, or they steal, kill, all those, that energy, that deep pain vibration energy, for those folks, is quote unquote hell then a state? Just like you say, heaven is a state. Is hell a state then?
Yes. So hell and heaven don't exist as places, and these are states. And in actuality, hell is something that we create here in the physical. So with people who do all those things, in most cases, they're doing it out of their own pain. Like they have either had a really abusive upbringing, or they have had a lot of issues. They're living from a place of pain, or there is something actually wrong with them mentally, emotionally. Yeah, mentally, yeah. They need help. They need to be institutionalized. There's all these reasons why people are that way. But so they're coming at it from their own pain, their own limitations. When we leave behind our bodies, there's this state of clarity. That's what it felt like for me. There's this state of, oh, wow, I could have done that differently. Oh, wow, I hurt all these people and I was coming at it from my own pain, or wow, I wish I knew better. So there's a state of like understanding. But what I also felt is that as we continue in that realm, we do continue to evolve. And the people who actually cause the most pain in this physical life, when they cross over, believe it or not, they're not actually in hell or being punished or anything. They can see what they've done in the state of clarity, and they are evolving almost in a sense to make up for it. The people that have hurt us the most in this life are doing the most in spirit form to help and evolve us.
What a beautiful way to look at it, though, right? It's like, what a loving place, right? Let me tell you something. I grew up religious. I was in Catholic school. I read the Bible. I did all of that. And I never fully aligned energetically with everything as truth. Something seemed so off. One thing that always rubbed me the wrong way is, okay, well, this is eternal love from an eternal creator who's omnipotent and has unconditional love for me. But also, if I don't do good, I'm damned to eternal damnation. Yeah. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like that didn't resonate, and it doesn't, and never will. But what does resonate is exactly what you just said. Even the people who are the most cruel and painful and have hurt people on this physical form, them doing work on the spiritual form to evolve, they're doing the most amount of evolution.
Yes.
Because that is the most loving, compassionate way how to approach those souls, or the expression of the ego in human form, and then the soul,
yes,
which is now evolving to be a higher version of itself.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens, is that when we cross over, we can see where we weren't the highest version of ourselves.
Right.
And that's where we actually course correct. We start to course correct because there's that clarity as we look back on the life we lived. And I often sense, even when I did cross over, that there were beings like family members who had crossed before me, who were there helping me through the transition of dying. And my dad, who had hurt me the most during my life, I felt him helping me the most in death.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And that's not, I've heard that a lot, actually, that you actually met with the spirits of loved ones or guides or whoever you need. You're not alone in that crossover process.
Yes.
Man, this is such perfect timing. Just 2 days ago, like I'm a skeptic, and I was, but I'm also so open. So it's weird. It's
you
weird.
Were very open. Yeah.
It's weird. But I talked to a medium, and I only talked to the medium because my friend said, "Oh man, Christian, she is the real deal. She knew details." I was like, okay, let's see. So then we start talking, and I was like, okay, well, she could have found that on Instagram. I talk about that a lot. She could have found that. Then she started going into deep details about my mother that passed. Things that me, my dad, and my brother only experienced, never spoke about, and saw. And I was like, oh, this is real. I was like, oh, this is real. I was like, oh my God, I have a lot of questions for her. She has a, and we were literally having a conversation through a medium, and real conversation. So do you believe that we can always contact our loved ones, even if they passed away 20, 30, 40 years ago? They're still there?
Yeah, 100%. I do. I do believe that. And because time is not linear on that side.
Right.
And we perceive it as linear with our mind. We can only conceive time as one point of time at a time. But we can communicate, and particularly people who are highly sensitive and intuitive, we call them psychics or clairvoyants, they can really get in touch with, you know, your grandparents who have died, great-grandparents who died a long time ago. Absolutely, I believe that.
But they're there, and it's incredible. I was literally getting health remedies from my mom calling me out, going, "Why do you keep doing this? Or you need to go back to doing that. Remember that?" Oh, she's right, you know. And it's funny. I was getting the message that she said, "I need to go back to dancing more." And you're talking about dancing or anything bringing life. Well, there's nothing that brings me more life other than, you know, rapping, because I'll rap sometimes, is dancing. Those two bring me the most amount of life.
Wow.
They're my energetic. I'll get 5 points, 6 points, 7 points, you know, even if I don't sleep, that brings me so much life for the day.
Yeah.
Guess what went to the wayside because I've been so busy and moving on. All of that.
Yes.
It's been about 3 months I haven't, and I've been feeling it in my nervous system.
See?
It's a full circle back to that. It's incredible. But it's funny how my mom on the other side was able to call me out on that.
Wow.
Beautiful. Like the souls know. And it's not the same mom of the physical form with her own perspectives and religion and things like that. This is a more expanded, free version of your loved ones, correct?
Yes. It's very different because you're not dealing with your mom with the limitations when she was in the physical. Like when my dad communicates with me, it's his expanded soul. It's the whole soul. Yeah. It's not the physical limitations he had, which were placed on him by our culture, that he has to get his daughter married. You know, it has to be an arranged marriage.
Yes.
Somebody from our culture and so on. So very different dad, but yet it's him.
But it's incredible because it sounded like my mom, but it sounded like a wise version of her.
Yes.
And that's how I was like, whoa, that's her soul. Like this, because it was her. It was her personality. Even the things like that she said, I was like, oh, that's how she talks. What's happening here? So it's so much, it's so comforting because that's the form of connection, because that's all we know. We've grew up with that version of the earthly being, but even in the soul being, we still have that essence of, I won't even say personality, just that's how their being is.
I love that. I love that she came through for you. It's
incredible.
And you, yes, and believe it. And I know you do because she came up with things that she could never know, the psychic. Yes. Real
stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to the cancer journey. Mm-hmm. How many years ago was it that you had cancer?
Oh, many now. I was diagnosed in 2002, which is 22 years ago. I had the near-death experience in 2006.
Okay.
4 years with cancer.
So you were diagnosed, you had cancer up till 2006?
Yes.
And what was the near-death experience? Were you on hospice? Like, how did that happen? Did you stop breathing? How did it evolve to that?
So I was being cared for at home. The doctors had already told my husband that I had 3 months to live. Big mistake. And so I was being cared for at home. I had a full-time nurse that would come to the house and administer things like morphine and stuff because I was in so much pain. I weighed about 85 pounds.
Wow. What type of cancer was it?
Lymphoma. So it was lymphatic cancer. I had tumors the size of golf balls from the base of my skull, all around my neck and under my arms and in my chest, all the way down to my abdomen. And I looked like a skeleton, 85 pounds. my lungs were filled with fluid. So if I laid flat, I would choke on my own fluid. And my body stopped absorbing nutrition. And so that's why I was so skinny. And I couldn't walk because my muscles had all atrophied. And if I sat up, I couldn't even hold my head up. My head would be hanging down. My neck didn't even have the strength to hold my head up. And so I was in so much discomfort because trying to sleep, every few seconds, I would be choking on the fluid in my lungs, which would, lying flat, it would just come up. And I had these open skin lesions as well that were where the tumors or the lymph nodes had kind of opened up and toxins were weeping out of my skin. It was just horrific. And so one night I was in a lot of pain, and I remember the nurse administered a big dose of morphine so that I could get some rest. And now my husband, Danny, had been by my side for months. He just never left my side. He didn't know when or if I was going to cross over, but he was just amazing. He just never left my side. And that night, the nurse administered the morphine. And the next morning, I didn't wake up. And so my husband, Danny, he came to try and wake me up as usual, but it was like my eyes were sealed shut, wouldn't open my eyes, was unresponsive. So he phoned the doctor, but I wasn't dead per se. You know, my heart was still beating. So he phoned the doctor. The doctor actually told him to rush me to the hospital, which is what he did. And so when I was taken to the hospital, what nobody knew was that I was aware and I could hear everything. I could see, hear, feel everything. They rushed me to the hospital. The doctors then put all these tubes into me and connected me to all these machines and everything. And so, and again, I was aware of everything. I was aware the nurses were trying to find a vein, and they were saying that, oh, her veins have retracted. And the doctors were just resigned to the fact of, oh, she's dying, you know, this is it.
Yeah.
But okay, the family are distraught. Let's kind of just do what we can. Let's just, so there was one doctor who said something like, oh, she's gone. It's too late.
Yeah.
The doctor literally said to Danny that there was no point you even bringing her in. I'm not taking her on because I don't want her to die on my watch. She wouldn't even take me on because she didn't even think there was any point in what they were doing.
Yeah.
But another doctor came and said, okay, let me take her on. And he took me on and he ordered tubes and things to be placed into my veins. And all this time I was aware of everything. Even the doctor saying to Danny that, oh, I don't want someone who's going to die anyway on my watch. But, and then the doctor who did take me on said to Danny, her organs have shut down and she's not going to make it through the night. The kidneys are already shut down, but we'll just put, you know, whatever we can, fluid into her veins. And they put a food tube as well, so I could get nutrition. So that was kind of where I was seeing everything, hearing everything. And I saw things that were happening even down the hallway that was not even happening in the room that I was in. And then I started to feel my deceased family around me. My dad, I had a best friend who had died 2 years prior. My dad had died 10 years prior.
Feel them. You could not see them.
I could feel them. And then I'm going to say I could see them, but I use that term loosely because you're not viewing with physical eyes.
Yeah.
It's an awareness. I was aware that they were there. And so it's like you get the image of who they are, but you're not actually seeing. It's like you have a 360-degree peripheral vision, but beyond, because you're aware that there are these people around me and I recognize some of them. but not all of them. They're not physical, but they're here.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that sticks with me the most is the love.
Mm.
The love that was emanating from them was incredible. And my dad, I'd never felt that kind of love from him in physical life. Never. He was a very hands-off father, never very involved, never emotional. But here, my gosh, it was like he loved me unconditionally. I didn't have to do anything to win his approval, as I had done my whole life. And that feeling of love from my dad and the other beings was just incredible. And it was the first time in my life that I ever felt that way, just completely loved. And I felt that I had come home. This was home.
Mm. I got to tell you, just listening to this makes me feel so comfortable that death, how it's so beautiful. What a beautiful process of being welcomed by your loved ones with love that you've never felt in this physical form into this crossing over of pure love. It's just like when you hear the word love, it's like, it's love. And viewers and listeners, I want to bring perspective to this. This was an end stage version of you. The people in this stage do not make it through.
No.
So at what point did you go, okay, I'm back in my body and I'm back here and I'm going to live? What happened? Did you just hug your family goodbye and then go, I'm out of here, I'm coming back? What was that? What was that process?
So while I was there in that realm, so I was in the coma for about 30 hours and a lot actually happened. But I started to understand why I had the cancer. I started to understand how every thought, every decision, every choice I had made throughout my life had led me to that point of lying there on that hospital bed dying. In other words, for me, it was like I understood, oh, this is why I got cancer. Now, I try to be really careful and sensitive in how I say this because I don't want people to feel it's their fault if they get sick. It's never your fault if you're sick, never, because we're all doing the best we can within the limitations of our surroundings, our culture, our upbringing, our baggage, all within all these layers and layers of beliefs and so on. But when we die and we leave all that behind, you can actually see how these beliefs affected you, including how your culture affected you, your religion affected you. This is why I invite people to explore all that while they're living. And I could see how it was that I had been repressed as a woman and how I was someone who was meant to express myself and how I had made my choices from a place of fear of displeasing people, fear of disapproval, instead of making my choices from a place of expression and passion and love. So I could see it all clearly. And you don't realize this unless you really go deep and evaluate it. So it's nobody's fault that they get sick. But yet knowing this brought me a lot of comfort because it means, oh, wow, we have more autonomy and power over our bodies and our health than I had ever been led to realize, because I grew up believing that we're a victim of our health, you know, and if a doctor tells you you have 3 months to live, that's it. You have no other choice. And we are victims when we're told that 1 out of 3 people is going to get cancer, and all these things bring you back into victimhood. But being in that state, I realized, wow, I do have more autonomy over my body. But still, it wasn't that I wanted to come back because it was so beautiful on that side. The other thing that I became aware of is that my brother, who was in another country, was rushing to get on a plane to get to me before I died. And so I was aware, I could see him, I was aware of him.
Wow.
Yes, on the plane. And I thought, oh, I don't want to die before he gets here because he's going to feel so guilty. So I was aware I had the ability to keep my body alive so that it wouldn't die before he got here. So that's how much autonomy we have over our bodies.
Incredible.
And I did reach a point, though, where I was given a choice as to whether I wanted to come back into my physical body or to stay there. And no part of me wanted to come back. It was so beautiful there.
Yeah.
But then it was my dad who said to me that you haven't completed your purpose. Your soul came with an intention, a purpose. And you didn't, you got cancer because you repressed your soul, but you haven't completed your purpose. And basically, he wanted me to know that the hard part of my life was over and I would kind of be missing out on the gifts if I didn't go back. The other thing I realized was that my purpose and my husband Danny's purpose is linked. And if I don't go back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose either. So that's why I made the decision to come back. And then as soon as I made that decision, my dad wanted me to know that now that you know the truth of who you really are and why you got sick, your body is actually going to heal very quickly. And he said, all you have to do is go back and live your life fearlessly. And he meant fearless of shame or disapproval and all those things that my life had been built on previously. And that's when I made the decision to come back and I started to come out of the coma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And over time, I mean, was the lymphoma just shrinking? Your body, you were gaining weight? Were people being like, this is a miracle?
Yeah, people were freaking out.
The doctors, were they freaking out?
The doctors did not even know what to write in my medical records. And that woman who had, the female doctor who had given me up for dead, she suddenly came back and wanted to work with, because she could see I was healing.
Yeah.
She kind of wanted it in her books that almost like she revived me from the dead.
Yeah. No, I want the other guy. I want the other doctor who was there for me,
Yes, exactly. So
this is it's a miracle. I worked in oncology for so long. That's a medical miracle. What you say, I fully believe. So I know that is so important for us to have perspective on about healing. And miracles are accessible to everyone. And man, I just value your journey so much because you're reminding us of why we're here. And for me, that's part of what we're here to do as humans, is remind each other why we're here. And you're doing it so beautifully with your story that is incredible. It's incredible. And when you said the part about having the awareness about everything, even in that state, about your brother, I thought about, my mom was for 2 months on hospice. She wasn't, she was in a coma. We couldn't even talk to her. And it was these crazy moments of why isn't she crossing over? Cause it was sort of the end. The doctor's like, well, nothing we could do. There's no more chemotherapy. There's nothing. And man, we brought everyone to the hospital. We even brought our dog, which wasn't allowed in the hospital. Aww. He came, he started licking her face. We had her brother come from Puerto Rico. We had her every family member came. And you know what happened? I was in my bed and my dad was still at the hospital. My brother, he stayed there too. And we were sort of kind of doing these shifts, me and my brother, but my dad was there the whole time. And I was sleeping, and 4 a.m, I jump up and I knew exactly what it was. And it's because she was always worried about my relationship with my brother being if we were close enough, if we weren't, we want to support and love. For her as a mother, she wanted to know we would be close and we'd be taken care of. So I went I knew it in the morning. I went to the hospital and I told her in her ear, don't worry about me and my brother. We're going to be so close. I got him. We're going to be, and she died 4 hours later.
Wow.
So, yes. there's an awareness that the body's holding on for something.
Yes.
And I totally believe that. That's why when you said that, it really put an exclamation mark over my head, that memory of yes, she was in a state and she was aware and she knew she was just waiting for something.
Yes. And that's the thing. We have that control even in that state. And I always tell people that if you have a family member in a coma, talk to them, tell them you love them, tell them they are very loved. Yeah. And even if you want to tell them things, like if they're not, if they're young and you know, and you think maybe they still have some life left in them, talk to them and ask them, like, what do you want to do if you were to come out of the coma, and get them passionate about life again.
Different perspective about what they can come in and do.
Yes, a different perspective. Open up their mind, their field.
Perspective, like coming back to a world where it's worth living.
Yes.
You know, it's incredible, the thought process when we go, okay, well, I'm not living. I'm not embodying why I'm here. Of course, the body goes, okay, well, the soul's like, what's happening here? You know, like I came to do something that's not going to happen in this life. So, you know, we move through, and that's the free will of these choices. We have the free will to be depressed and so contracted and not in our soul's purpose, just as if we have the free will to embody all of those things that give us energy, as you said, and bring more life to us and passion.
Exactly.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I wish I could make this convo another 2 hours, but another hour at least. But there's so much that I would love to talk about with you, but we have to do it on another one.
I would love to. Yeah. I'd be happy to, honestly.
And now I'm just learning that you're not that far. So now we got to really make it happen. We need a part 2, because I got a whole list of questions that are coming up from this podcast.
Gladly.
I know people love you right now. People new who haven't heard you or listened. Where are they going to find you? First of all, where do we find you?
So my website, anitamoorjani.com. I've even got my story on my website. And of course, I'm on all the social media channels, everything from YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the usual.
All of it.
And I do events and workshops because I love to work with people to take them on journeys, deep journeys, so they can actually figure out what is their passion, what is their soul's intention. So if you look up my website, you'll see upcoming events. So I do a lot. And so I would love people to check out everything I do.
Incredible. Listen, I honor your work. I honor your soul. Like it's so beautiful to hear your story, because the take home is that we got to die before we die, right?
Yes.
We have to have that moment where we go, let's take all that. I love the journaling. Like, let's all do this. I'm really urging viewers, listeners, do this for yourself. Be inspired by this podcast. Go grab a notebook and start taking an audit of your life and bringing more joy.
Yes.
Those things that give us the energy.
Yes.
Because everyone knows what they feel good doing.
Yes.
Let's start prioritizing that instead of all the other things that we prioritize.
Exactly. 100%. And I just want to say something about you. I am so happy that you know, as a practitioner, doctor, practitioner, health caregiver, is interested in this and thinks this way and has your perspective. The world needs more people like you.
Thank you so much.
To do what you do.
I received that. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you.